Hello, thanks for joining me today. I'm Jan Clothier of Thinking Stamping, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator based in New Zealand. And today I thought I'd share with you a card that I made in a recent class that I held. I'm not quite sure what this folder's called. I call it the Fold Flat Pop-Up Box because it folds beautifully flat like that to fit inside an envelope and then pops up readily to make a beautiful little 3D card for display. And I was reminded of it as I was hunting through a box of old samples, and I came across one that I'd made with a beautiful magnolia set that we had a few years ago. The name escapes me and I've sold it, so I can't really have a look and see what it was. But it was a lovely card, and I thought, oh, that would work nicely with the Earthen Textures bundle. So that's what we're going to do today. I like this card because for me fancy folds only work for two reasons: if they're easy to do and they display easily for the recipient when they open up the envelope, and so they click, you know, they can work out quickly what to do with it. And this card within its variations fits that perfectly. So there's only really one place you can go wrong, and that's how you put it all together. So I'm going to take you through that step by step. So let's get started with what you need. Now, I've chosen to do this with the Earthen Textures bundle out of the 2023 to 2024 annual catalogue. I've used this a lot because I love the images on it. You know, I'm always a sucker for pots and plants. And I love the paper as well. I'm not really a paper person, but I love the rich earthy colours of the papers. So the Earthen Textures bundle is what I've used for this. If you don't have the set and you'd like to add it to your craft collection and you live in New Zealand, please shop with me. There's a link to my online store in the video description below, and you can get to it through the links which are going to pop up in the social media card at the end of this video as well. But you know, once you've got the basic technique, of course, you could use it with any set that you have. So, Earthen Textures bundle. Now, what do you need to make it? Well, I'm going to make another one of these ones. And so I've got a pecan pie card base. Now, you do have to remember what to do with the cutting. So you need a piece of cardstock that's 27 centimetres long and 10.5 centimetres wide. That's the standard width of a card in metric anyway. So it's the standard width, but it's 27. So you need to cut down your piece of A4 paper slightly. And then you need to score it at, I'll do it this way because it seems to make more sense. Okay, 14.5 centimetres, 17.5 centimetres, 22.5 centimetres, and 25.5 centimetres. And that is going to make this back part of the card. And then for the little pop-up front section, you need a smaller piece. This is 10 centimetres wide and 15 centimetres long, and I've scored it at, just make sure I get this right, scored it at 10 centimetres and at 13 centimetres, and those are the two pieces that make up the base. So we just need to score, oh, I won't score them right now, so we'll do those. And then you need your DSP. So you need a piece of DSP that is 10 centimetres wide and 14, which is going to be the back of the card. And you need another piece that is 10 centimetres wide by 4.5 centimetres wide, and that is going to make that front piece. So the back piece and the front piece. And then for the narrower bit, so it's 10 centimetres wide, so you're going to cut the pieces 9.5. So you need a piece, that is 9.5 centimetres wide by 7 centimetres tall, which is going to be that piece, and then a little piece for the lid, and so that is going to be 7 centimetres wide and 2.5 centimetres for the top. Now on this card where I used, see on this one I've used cardstock, on this one I've used DSP the whole way, and I got everything I needed from one single strip of 12 by 12 paper. So I just cut one strip, and you see on this one I've used one side and the reverse. So by the time you cut a 14 centimetre piece and a 4.5 centimetre piece, then trim it down to the narrower width, you will get all the DSP you need out of one strip of 12 by 12 cut at 10 centimetres wide. So, or the equivalent thereof. So it's not particularly hungry on paper. Right, so that's what you need to make the base. And then after that, it's whatever you need for the decorations. And so in this instance, I have taken a piece of Pretty Peacock, and I've cut from the Earthen Textures dies one of those. Now, I didn't bother cutting the whole longs. I just needed a piece that was long enough to give me a bit of a stalk, because I didn't need the long stalk. I've cut myself a pot here, and I've used pecan pie cardstock, and I have stamped it using this lovely image from the set in copper clay. So that's how I've done that. And with this, I've just cut one of these. I love that, thank you. I just love the font of it. I think it's beautiful. So I've stamped that in copper clay on Very Vanilla. And I used the Gorgeously Made dies for this because I love that little torn paper die there. And so that's what I used to cut the sentiment. And then I cut an exact same shape out of Pretty Peacock to layer up underneath it, just to kind of like underline the sentiment. Now, the only other thing that I've got, I'm just going to pop this one aside so we don't get confused about what we're making. On the back, I have put a piece of Very Vanilla, and it is 10 centimetres wide by 14 centimetres, and I've just stamped some images out of the set on it so that you've got somewhere to write on the card when it's done. Okay. So that's all the measurements that we need, all the bits and pieces. So after that, it's really pretty much just plain assembly. So this piece here, as I said, is going to make the solid back base of the card. So all we need to do is go through and score so that we're going to get nice folds, nice strong folds, so burnish. And you can see that that is eventually going to fold up and make the base, but it's how you do it that is the difference between whether it sits nicely and whether it doesn't. So we can see that's going to fold up there. So the first thing we're going to do is add our piece of Designer Series paper. Okay, so we're just going to put a bit of glue and adhere it here. Now, if you are running short of DSP, you can cut it to just 10 centimetres, and then all that will happen is that this little bit down here will just show plain cardstock. And if you like that look, then just cut this piece to 10 centimetres. Okay. And we can see that when we fold up, this piece here is going to be the front. So that's where we're going to add the piece that's 4.5 centimetres by 10. If you have a really strong pattern going, then, try to do a bit of pattern matching. I think it's not going to matter so much in this one. But say you made it out of the masterfully made paper, where there's a really strong pattern, you might want to try and do a bit of pattern matching. Now, when you are gluing the bits together, you always have to think about, okay, it's going to fit in the envelope, and when it goes into the envelope, that's how much space you've got. So when you're doing the gluing, that's how you glue it. So this is the flap, this little narrow bit. So I'm going to pop my glue on there, and I'm going to fold it as if it was going into the envelope. And then I'm just going to hold it and press it so that the glue's got time to set and start to attach itself. And then you can see now we've got our nice little box, pop-up box mechanism for the base. So the secret, always do your gluing as if you were putting it into the envelope. Okay, so that's the first base. Now the little pop-up mechanism, again, we're going to give the folds a good crease. And you can see that that eventually is going to pop there like that. So we know that that is the flap. This bit here is the top, so we can pop our piece of Designer Series paper onto that. And Glue's going to give me that little wiggle room to just make it sure it's straight. And then our little piece of Very Vanilla is going to go on there. Now I've chosen to make it Very Vanilla because I just liked the look of it. But as you can see on my other sample here, I used DSP for the background, and again that is going to be 7 centimetres that way and 9.5 centimetres that way. Okay, so when it comes to attaching this one, it's the same thing. Think about how is it going to fit in the envelope. Well, when it's in the envelope, it's going to be like that. So that's how I'm going to have to glue it. Now, what bit is glued? Well, the flap. So glue the flap, and it's nice, the rest of it's nice and flat. So what you need to do now is go, okay, I'm going to line that up with the top, because in the envelope you don't want this bit hanging over. And then you have to go, right, I want it central. So have I got an even gap on both sides? And when you think you're happy that it's both straightly lined up at the top and there's an even amount on both sides, then just give it a firm press and let that glue start to attach. Okay, and you can see, yep, that's what's going on. We've got it there. Now, at the moment, this is flapping like an open mouth, and we don't want that, so we're going to have to glue it. Now, I can't put glue past this bit because otherwise I'll glue the wrong bits together. So I just need glue at the, say, the bottom 2 or 3 centimetres where it's going to overlap onto this bit. So then when you're happy that it's in the right place and it's lying nice and flat, give it a press. Give it a bit of a thing, and there we've got the basic mechanism. So you can do that with any paper that you like. If you wanted to, you could put a piece of paper on the top there. I don't, because I just like the look of a plain piece of cardstock to just break it up. And there we go. So then it's just decoration. Now I've kept the decoration pretty simple on this one. As I said, I've got my pecan pie stamped with copper clay urn, which is going to go there. And I've got my beautiful little fan shape. Now I've done this in 2 ways. If you have a little look at the 2 samples that I've done, this one I've just attached the palm exactly as it came out of the die. But of course, because there are these beautiful lines, you can bend it and give it a bit of a 3-dimensional lift. Now, I didn't do it on this one, just so that you could see what it looked like, but I think I like the look of it a bit lifted. So it's just a question of getting in there with your fingers and bending it up a bit. In fact, it's probably easier to see from behind where the line is, and just give it a bit of a squeeze. Right, so when you've given it its squeeze, and you can see, that it does make it look quite a lot more interesting to have that fold in it. Okay, where am I going to pop it? Well, I'm just going to pop a little line there so I can see where it's going to go. Now, of course, once you fold it, it does become slightly trickier to attach it. But if you put the glue on the ridge lines, now I'm deliberately not taking the glue all the way out to the end because I want it to look like it's lifting off the page. And if I glue all the way to the end, it's going to look flat. So that's why I haven't put glue all the way. Of course, you do have to be a little bit careful now about how you have to do a fine juggle between pressing so that the glue holds, but not pressing so much that you lose the folds that you've just done. Okay. Now I'm going to just glue on my urn. If you wanted to, you could easily pop that up on dimensionals. but I'm not going to because I'm going to put my sentiment on dimensionals instead. So I want to, because I've got a very vanilla piece of card here for the sentiment, if I just put it on like that, it kind of recedes into the background. So that's why I'm using this little extra tag to act like a bit of an underlining and to break the colour so that the sentiment stands out a little bit more than it would. Okay, so we're just going to layer them up and use a bit of that famous glue wiggle room to just get it straight. Okay, and then I think we will just dimensional him on. 1, 2, 3. I'm sure you've noted my restrained use of dimensionals there, because regular viewers will know that I do love my dimensionals. Okay, so we will pop that sentiment there. Now, embellishments. Well, the suite does come, the Earthen Textures suite does come with some beautiful self-adhesive sequins in Pretty Peacock, pink and sort of a mother of pearl, and that's what I've used there. But on this particular one, I went instead for the 2023 to 2025 in colour dots, because we've got that copper clay accent going on in there. I thought that they were a nice contrast to the vanilla and brought in all the colours of the DSP. So I'm going to pop one there at the base of the fan. Whoops. Would help if I got it in the... Whoops. I've got a touch of glue on my finger, I think, because it just didn't want to behave itself. Okay, and... Again, I'm sure you've heard me say before that one of the reasons I really love these embellishments is because they come in a large, a medium, and a small, and I love it when you get that size variation. Okay, so we are almost done. The only other thing that we have to do is to pop on the panel to write on, and we shall just pop that on the back. Flip her over and line it up. And then when we're happy, we shall just give that a little press with the bone folder. And there we have it. The little fold up, flat, pop up box card using the Earthen Textures bundle and the Earthen Elegance DSP. As always, I'm very happy to answer questions, and you can reach me through the links in the video description below and the links which are going to pop up in the end card of this video shortly. If you live in New Zealand and you've seen anything that I've used today, you'd like to add it to your craft collection, then please shop with me using the link to my online store in the video description below, or through my Facebook page or blog, the details of which are about to pop up. And above all else, everyone, happy stamping.